Hey, welcome to another episode of It Is What It Is, the podcast. Well, 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 well. What a week. What a week. What a week. That's pretty much all I can say, man, is what a week. January the 6th, Wednesday. Washington, D.C. The place was the United States Capitol during the Electoral College ratification of the United States presidential election that took place with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president. And here's what took place. Not like anybody doesn't know, but rioters raided the United States Capitol while the Electoral College was ratifying the presidential election. Rioters stormed their way into the U.S. Capitol. They broke windows. They stormed offices. They urinated in the Capitol. I'm talking about the United States of America here. They spread human feces on the wall. They stole mail and paperwork from Capitol offices. Law enforcement was injured and one was killed. Several protesters died as a result of their actions. All because they believe the election was stolen based on the words from the United States President Donald Trump. Well. What do I say about this? Well, I simply say this, that these are they that we as black people have talked about for years. These are they that are anti-black, anti-brown, anti-anything but them. In the late 90s, the FBI warned local law enforcement agencies that white supremacist groups were now infiltrating law enforcement to further their goal of injuring, killing, and eliminating what they thought were people who were not Americans, black and brown and marginalized people. So here we are. Now that we've seen this show again, now that we've seen this show live on television, it's like what took place when LBJ saw the atrocities that were happening throughout the civil rights movement, but until it was on national TV, when John Lewis and many of those other protesters at the Edmund Pettus Bridge were brutalized by police officers as normal. That's when they stepped in and did something. Ladies and gentlemen, we had the opportunity of being home, many of us watching TVs in front of the internet. Like you, I was getting texts and emails about, did you see what's going on? Do you see what's happening? And like you, I was unaware, but I wasn't surprised because we've seen this show before. We've seen this show, unfortunately, at the lynching of Emmett Till, the killing of Medgar Evers, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Amadou Diallo, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, the Central Park Five, Michael Brown. Oh, let me get it straight. The Central Park Five weren't killed, but they were their character assassinated by one Donald Trump. Walter Scott, Rodney King, Walter Brown, Rekia Boyd, John Crawford, Theodore Johnson, Leroy Perry, Tysel Nelson, Taisha Miller, LaTanya Haggerty, Alfred Sanders, Ezel Ford, Dante Parker, Michelle Cusseau, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Romaine Brisbane, Jermaine Reed, George Mann, Matthew Ajibade, Frank Smart, Natasha McKenna, Tony Robinson, Anthony Hill, Maya Hall, Philip White, Eric Harris, William Chapman II, Alexa Christian, Brendan Glenn, Victor Manuel LaRosa, Jonathan Sanders, Freddie Gray, Freddie Blue, Joseph Mann, Salvador Ellswood, Sandra Bland, Danroy Henry. These are all people who were killed at the hands of police officers. Albert Joseph Davis, Darius Stewart, Billy Ray Davis, Samuel DuBose, Michael Sabbie, Brian Keith Day, Christian Taylor, Troy Robinson, Ashams Farrow Manley, Felix Kumai, Keith Harrison McLeod, Junior Prosper, Lamontez Jones, Patterson Brown, Dominic Hutchinson, Anthony Ashford, Alonzo Smith, Tyree Crawford, India Kager, Levante Biggs, Michael Lee Marshall, Jamar Clark, Richard Perkins, Nathaniel Harris Pickett, Benny Lee Tignor, Miguel Espinal, Michael Noel, Kevin Matthews, Betty Jones, Cantonio Legre, Keith Kildress Jr., Janet Wilson, Randy Nelson, Atroni Scott, Wendell Celestine, David Joseph, Callan Rockamore, Dyshawn Perkins, Christopher Davis, Marco Loud, Peter Gaines, Torrey Robinson, Darius Robinson, Kevin Hicks, Mary Trusillo, DeMarcus Seamer, Willie Tillman, Terrell Thomas, Seville Smith, Terrence Crutcher, Paul O'Neill, Alterio Woods, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Ronell Foster, Stephon Clark, Antoine Rose II, Botham John, Pamela Taylor, Dominique Clayton, Atiana Jefferson, Christopher Whitfield, Christopher McCorvey, Eric Reason, Michael Lorenzo Dean, and Breonna Taylor. A lot of names, right? Guess what? That's not even the names that were killed at the hands of white racist people. So, I asked the question, what now? What now? Now what? What do we do based on what we have witnessed again, over and over again? Now it is gone from the houses in the hood, houses in suburbs, to the United States Capitol, our house, the nation's house. We saw that these protesters were calling for the death of Mike Pence, our vice president. They wanted to hang Nancy Pelosi. They wanted to kill other senators and members of the United States House of Representatives. Now what? Now what? What does this have to do with policing? I'll tell you. We need police reform. What you saw was a horrific display of a lack of supervision, a lack of intelligence, and a lack of, I'm not even going to say a lack of intelligence, because I know that there were intelligence agents in New York Police Department, who I've worked with, their intelligence bureau, me being an intelligence detective for the last 10 years of my career. They do a wonderful job at getting, at finding out intelligence and sending it all across these United States to law enforcement officers. They came up with a large package of information that was sent to departments in Washington, D.C., U.S. Capitol Police, Maryland police officers, anyone who had any affiliation with the state capitol and all around the Washington area, that there were going to be large protests. Tell me why we did not have more people at that United States Capitol to deter those rioters, those looters, those terrorists that came to the United States Capitol. Why did we not do this correctly Because we didn't, many officers were injured. One was killed. And I pray tonight for the family members of all of those who were killed, all of those who lost life. I pray for them because this should not have happened. We dropped the ball. And when I say we, all of us, because when I say now what, and I'll get into that, but let me deal with this. What needs to be done from the eyes of what I see? We definitely need police reform. We definitely need police reform. And I'm simulcasting tonight. I'll be on Anchor during the What Is What It Is podcast also, but I'm coming to you via YouTube also. I want this to get out. What we need right now, because our police departments need help. We've got some very bright, very intelligent young men and women, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, men and women of all races on our police departments that aren't bad. It is true that we have some bad officers that are there for all the wrong reasons. And we've got to stop that. When I say we, the citizens of the United States of America, we've got to stop this. And we can, but we've got to work together. We've got to have community and police partnerships. In other words, we've got to form partnerships in the community that were willing to work with the police and the police willing to work with the community in order to establish a better rapport so that when we have these major outbreaks, we know who to call on. We know the community leaders that can assist the police in stopping a lot of the violence that's going on. Police and community partnerships give police officers the opportunity to get to know the culture of the community, to get to know the people of the community, to get to learn the ways of the community, and to break down the stereotypes, to break down the ignorance, the lack of knowledge about one's culture, about one's race. And then through that, we also need to have some community and police discussions. Yeah, we need to talk about some things. And when I say we, all of us, we need to talk about some things. We need to get this whole race issue out there now. It's out there like it never was before. It's a problem because these are they that we've been talking about for years. These are they that were at the hands of that long list of people who I talked about earlier. That roll call that I called earlier, these are they who were at the hands of the death of those folk. Folks who just believe that they have power and they don't want to lose power. And it's a power that they don't even have. We need to talk. We need to have community and police discussions. We need to go into the neighborhoods. We need to go all throughout the cities, urban cities, suburban cities, and we need to talk, y'all. And that's what police reform is going to look like in 2021. We've got to have policies that monitor police brutality complaints. We've got to have these policies that say, wait a minute, you've got 3 complaints in 1 month, in 2 months, whatever it is. We need to look at it and see what's going on. And then there needs to be some psychological evaluations. We need to have some of these officers looked at. And we need to have some help for them. Let me explain something to you. I love law enforcement. I love it. I spent 25 years doing it. And I love my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. And I pray for them all the time because I know the job. I know that they are looked upon as the enemy every day. They're not called upon to say congratulations to somebody. They're called upon during the worst of the worst times. They're called upon during emergencies. They're called upon during domestic violence situations. They're called upon where there's a robbery or a burglary going on. They're called upon when it's a theft. They're called upon for smaller things than that. And people depend on them to serve and protect because that's the contract that we signed on for. But somewhere along the line, somebody signed on with the premise of, I'm going to take out my vengeance on these people who don't look like me, don't act like me, and I'm going to do it to save my America. And that's just wrong, and we need to talk about it. We need to deal with race relations. We need to have continued talks. We need to have continued talks. We really need to have de-escalation training. We've got to learn what I call verbal judo. We've got to learn how to go into a call and de-escalate problems. And yes, we need to have some counselors, some psychological folks who are on call that can meet us at these calls and see if they can intervene when necessary and stand back when all else has failed and let the police do their job. But we've got to learn that not everybody has to die at the hands of the police. We've got to learn that that gun can sometimes get in our way. Once we pull the gun, then what? So I asked the question to America, now what? Yeah, we've seen the worst. Well, let's pray that we've seen the worst of the worst. I believe there's a lot of very unhappy people out here. I believe that they think that this election was stolen because the president of the United States, Donald Trump, says that it was stolen. And a lot of his people believe it was stolen, despite the fact that you've had investigation after investigation after investigation from Republican strongholds. You've had Republicans, staunch Republicans, Donald Trump supporters, who were at the head of these investigations with negative results of voter fraud. But yet they still believe that this election was stolen, that their America is being stolen. I didn't know America belonged to one group of people. Their America is being stolen. Where it's being stolen from and where it's being taken to, I don't know. But you and I, like-minded citizens, we've got to get together and do something. And we need to talk. We need to bridge the gap. We need to continue to vote. We need to continue to hold our elected officials accountable. But more than anything, I'm more concerned about our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. They need our help. And police reform is something big that I'm going to be a part of until the day that I die. I am committed to helping our brothers and sisters in the blue, to help them to be the gatekeepers that really God calls us to be. Being a police officer is a calling. And many people, just like in other areas, that's a calling. Some of those have missed the call, or they have not heard the call, and they're pushing themselves to be something that they were not called to do. And we've got to make sure that we get those officers from the communities who truly want to serve and protect. We've got to get them on these departments, and we've got to weed out those bad seeds. America, I ask the question tonight. Now that you've seen in 3D, now that you've seen it on YouTube, now that you've seen it on all of your social media platforms, now that you've seen it on CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, Fox News, all of the news stations, now that you've seen this, what are you going to do? What are we going to do? The question now is, now what? It's on